Ladies and gentlemen, Pandora's box has well and truly been opened. Welcome to Doctor Who Reviews. This week, it's finally happened. We are talking about the Talons of Weng-Chiang. And to discuss this unique story with me, shall we say, I've got my two usual co-hosts. Firstly, to my virtual left, he suffered through this, so you don't have to. It's Freezing Inferno.
Oh, God. Wait, did you just do a Doug Walker for me?
Not intentionally.
I've already got enough to deal with.
I was just saying that you suffered through it so they didn't have to, but if you want to make it about Doug Walker, you go right ahead, knock yourself out.
No, one problematic piece of shit at a time, okay?
Fair enough. And to my virtual right, her favourite new metal band is Simp Bizkit. It's Concave Usurper, better known as Cat.
Oh, honey, I think you did the wrong intro for me. The correct intro would be no longer appearing on this podcast after this.
No, okay. Let's get some stuff
out of the way. Appearing on this podcast.
Well, we got some housework to do before we actually get into the story itself, because, Kat, I understand your sentiment. You want to get this over with, so we never have to touch it again. Yeah. So I do not blame you for picking it. I truly don't. I harbor no ill will towards you.
But
all the ill will I harbor is towards the story, which I will spend this podcast tearing down, shall we say. But before we get into it, I wanted to share a personal story why I dislike the Talons of Weng-Chiang so goddamn much. It's not just the content of the story. It goes beyond that. So, here's my story time. And I want to say up front here. Kat, do you remember when you got Colin Baker to do that little thing for me? And you made him pretend that the two doctors was my least favorite Doctor Who? I'm going to make a bold claim, and I will back it up with this story. The Talons of Weng-Chiang is my least favorite Doctor Who story.
I would not be surprised.
Like, there are worse Doctor Who stories, like, in terms of quality. Stuff like Twin Dilemma, Lie of the Land, Ascension of the Cybermen, stuff you can point at and say, this is an obvious quality problem. The Talons of Weng-Chiang doesn't quite have that problem. It has problems, but not quite that problem. But it has a unique problem of its own for me personally. So, story time. 2 years ago, Doctor Who magazine, which you may or may not know of, they have a column called The Time Team, which is a bunch of Generation Z kids who grew up watching the new series, and they talk briefly about classic episodes and other episodes. So one particular issue around 2 years ago, they talked about a trio of stories set in the past. I can't remember one. Another was Thin Ice, the Peter Capaldi story. And the third was Talons of Weng-Chiang. They said, much as what we're going to say, well, it's very well made and well acted, but Jesus Christ Almighty, the racism!
Yeah.
Which, it's a natural reaction. Someone higher up at Doctor Who magazine decided that maybe these kids, they don't have the full context of Talons of Weng-Chiang, this beloved Doctor Who story, sixth best Doctor Who story according to that one poll. So this higher up, it might have been the editor, but I'm not sure, got in front of their column with a little defense column of his own, using the same defenses that we talked about in our Tomb of the Cybermen review, sort of, Oh, it's a product of its time. Oh, they were riffing on genre tropes, the stuff like Fu Manchu, which had some movies out at the time. So you have to have the clear context to understand Talons of Weng-Chiang before you call it racist. Which, what it is someone talking over a bunch of kids saying the story is racist with limp-wristed defenses, which is not a good look. And this was critiqued by people online at the time. One of these people, a Doctor Who critic named Elizabeth Sandifer, who I believe I brought up on the show before,
You have.
Now, I just want to say up front, full disclosure, Elizabeth Sandifer is one of my biggest writing inspirations. She's given me a platform here and there. She's inspired my writing in general. I wouldn't be here on this podcast if it were not for me discovering her work. She means a great deal to me. Her work has changed me quite literally, made me the critic I am today. So when Elizabeth Sandifer complained about this on Twitter, saying that this is a bad move, people should have been sacked for this. This is garbage. Talons is bullshit. They fired back, and this resulted in the, as her and her Discord have come to call them, the Talons Bros popping up and, dogpiling, harassing, the usual bullshit.
Here are the actual Talons of Weng-Chiang. It's all these idiots who think it's not racist.
There you go. The title makes sense now.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. This is my point. Watching in real time someone I respect as a critic and a creator getting absolutely dogpiled for saying this fucking story is racist and bad and shit. Like, they defended it so hard. These Talons Bros, they defended their precious little Tom Baker story, of which there are so many other good Tom Baker stories without racist bullshit that you can like. They defended it so hard that I never wanted to put my eyes on the goddamn story again. That I hate the story now. It is my least favorite Doctor Who because it's the only Doctor Who I can think of that harassed someone I respect.
Yeah.
You can't say that for Twin Dilemma. You can't say that for Lie of the Land. You can't say that for
I
even
didn't
the
know
worst
of this, and now that I do, I absolutely understand your hatred of this story.
Like, I don't hold any ill will towards Kat for picking it, or Brainiac, you for hosting it or anything. And if you find good things about this story, that's fine. I'm sure I'll have some nice things to say about it.
Racism, essentially.
Yeah, because we talked about racism in Tomb of the Cybermen. But here's the difference between Tomb and Talons. Tomb of the Cybermen is racist and kind of a shit story. Talons of Weng-Chiang is racist, but it also has some well-made, well-acted charms to it. That's a fact.
Mm.
But for me, it's been poisoned by the Talons Bros.
Yeah.
For you two, this is a Doctor Who review. For me, this is an exorcism. I'm banishing this fucking thing from my life. So, let's talk about the Talons of Weng-Chiang.
Yeah, and if you call it an exorcism, that's out because the deal is that we don't talk about this one again.
Yep.
We don't mention this in later podcasts. This is the one and only time we talk in length about the Talons of Weng-Chiang.
That's why I got that story out of the way. And
I'm glad you did. And honestly, to me, I felt the same way when people went after Zelda Williams for talking about her father.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, dear.
It's, oh, yeah, you're just his daughter. You don't know what he would have thought. Jesus Christ. She's his daughter.
His daughter?
Fuck's sake.
I think out of everybody in the room, she would be the one that'd be closest to him.
Imagine the privilege that you have to hold. I'm sorry to use such loaded terminology in a way.
Here, it's absolutely fine.
Like, to all the Tom Baker stories you can pick as your favorite, Even from the Hinchcliffe era that this comes from. Stuff like Brain of Morbius or the Genesis of the Daleks. What's the third good one? Ark in Space?
City of Death.
Well, that's not Hinchcliffe, but
it's got to be Hinchcliffe. Pyramids of Mars.
Pyramids of Mars, it has a couple of sus moments. Not as bad as Talons, but
yeah.
Anyway, imagine taking all that and saying, I like this one the best. 6th best Doctor Who story. And then when someone says, there's a whole bit of problematic, you shut up, you shut the fuck up, how dare you? Just
See, that's the part I really don't get about some people is you're allowed to like something and still find the problems in it. I mean, I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd. Sorry for bringing that back up again, but
it's fine.
I don't like J.K. Rowling anymore because she's a terrible person now. possibly always has been. And there are aspects of the Harry Potter books that I do not like. I do not like how they just sort of gloss over the abuse that Harry gets from his relatives. I don't like the fact that Dumbledore is too, he's too much for the greater good, and, his associations are glossed over. And I recognize that those are indeed problems. And that's what I think what the big problem is with something like this is you can't just hand wave aside racism like that. Because it is very much racist. You have a white man playing a Chinese man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get into it.
We'll get to that.
Here's the thing. Unlike JK, who has spouted horrific views, at the very least, the writers of this, the people in charge of it, aren't being, what's the word I want to use? Not
bigoted.
Willfully bigoted. They're just drawing on genre tropes, and they didn't sand the racism out.
I would agree, except for one thing. Leela and the Doctor get into it as well, and once
that is a bit unfortunate.
You're no longer doing trope
Okay,
stuff.
Yeah, that's a problem too.
I will explain later on why I can forgive Leela's writing for that, not so much the Doctor's.
I'll say this.
I could somewhat understand Leela's as well, but still the fact that someone wrote that for her.
Yeah.
Imagine the episode Rosa, but the Doctor and their but it was more racist, and the Doctor and their white companion had racist quips.
Oh, God.
That's what we're dealing with. Yeah. But that is kind of a unfair comparison, I will admit, because at least Rosa was about how the racism was bad. Talons isn't about the racism. No. Talons is just a genre trope, and they couldn't be bothered to rub out the racism.
The racism is a bug, not a feature.
Exactly. But you can see how my analogy would be absolutely fucking horrific.
Yeah.
Terrible. Exactly. So, shall we get into the story proper?
I think we better before you spontaneously combust.
Oh, yeah, like I said, exorcism.
I need an old priest and a young priest.
Well, I'm pretty old, so.
Well, you're not a priest.
Christ.
He's the youngest of us here.
So we'll just get the massive elephant out of the room right away. Yeah. 10 seconds into part 1, Yellowface.
Yep. This is the character Lee Sen-Chang, played by John Bennett, a British actor, wearing a bunch of makeup to make him look like a Chinese person.
AKA the biggest problem about this whole thing.
And he's doing a knockoff Chinese accent. But he is kind of performative because he's a stage magician. When he's on stage, he slips into a way more stereotypical accent.
Yeah.
And that's part of his stage persona. But even when he's off stage, talking normally, it's bad.
Yeah, here's the thing about this character. I think he's supposed to be a riff on the innovator of the bullet catch.
I thought he was a riff on Fu Manchu.
And I'm just Googling his name right now because the creator of the bullet catch illusion was not Chinese, but he performed as a Chinaman.
Okay.
And I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He died performing it. 12 magicians have died performing this particular trick. It's the most dangerous trick
He doesn't do a bullet catch later in the story, but he does do a trick with a gun.
He does, yeah.
I got in trouble once because of a bullet catch in school, so there's that.
Oh, shit.
You did a bullet catch?
No. I drew a picture of it, and I showed it to someone, and was trying to talk to them about it, to try and make friends, and they told on me to the teacher. I was nearly pulled into a conference with my counselor because of it. It's like, I saw it on TV. It was someone catching a bullet in their hand. And it's like, that's the American school system, people.
Chung Ling Soo was his name.
Okay.
His stage name was Chung Ling Soo, but his actual name was William Robinson, American magician.
Lord. Right.
And he died due to a failed bullet catch in London at the age of 56.
So, Chang...
bullets at people is a bad idea.
Yeah.
So, Chang is definitely a big problem with the Talons.
Yeah.
He's the biggest problem for me.
Yeah, it's something.
Now, I'm not gonna criticize Bennett for his performance because he actually performs the character quite well for what he's been given with here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, considering.
But he is the most awkward thing about it. Its depiction of Chinese characters and Chinese culture in general is just not good.
But here,
Yeah,
I have a question for you two.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would have been better or worse if they got an actual Chinese actor to play his part?
Slightly better.
A little bit better, but here's the crazy thing. They have Asian actors playing other Chinese characters.
Yeah, that's the part I don't get. They actually have Asian actors in this.
The villain has these Chinese triad henchmen that call them the Tongue of the Black Scorpion. And some of them are, all right, some of them are made up.
Can we mention also that every Chinese person in the story, be they actually Chinese or a dude in Yellowface, is an antagonist? So,
yeah.
It's like they just pour out all the tropes. Like they're all addicted to opium. They all somehow know some form of martial arts.
Well, the opium thing is historically accurate. There was a war fought between China and England about opium.
There's still the whole thing that they don't all have to be addicted to opium.
No, but it's a pretty good bet that Chinese people, more often than not, were addicted to opium at those times.
So, a man confronts Chang after his show because his wife vanished at the show last evening.
Yeah, a taxi driver.
Mm-hmm.
A cab driver, damn it, not a taxi driver. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cab driver, because it's carriages, because we're in Victorian London, we haven't mentioned. And then the TARDIS arrives on a nice foggy night, and we're introduced to our Doctor and companion, the Fourth Doctor, and Leela, who, this is our first Leela episode. Oh, God.
My first Leela episode entirely.
Right, so
you're not a fan of Leela, then?
Well,
no, I'm fine with her. I just don't like what they made her say.
Yeah. Leela is I'll say that the Leela era isn't my favorite of Doctor Who. It's nothing against the character, it's just the story quality is kind of But Leela is from the future, and she's a human, but like trying to explain her introductory story is very confusing in a succinct way. It's sort of like she's from a cargo cult, descended from people who crashed on a spaceship and formed like they regressed back to tribal days, in a way.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like a noble warrior queen sort of deal.
She often refers to herself as Leela of the 17.
The 17, that's her tribe.
17,
Yeah, which is language decay of survey team.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's a plot point in her intro story.
I never got that.
Well, you never got that because you hadn't seen Face of Evil.
True. And based on this, probably won't go out my way to watch that one.
Every single time you say Face of Evil, I just think of that really terrible Zelda game. I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah, at least that wasn't racist.
You say that, but I still think that one dude from the CDI games is a very racist caricature.
Is the Face of Evil the one where the guy goes, "You've killed me," and Zell just goes, "Good"?
Probably.
I don't know, but right.
I just know that there's a guy wearing a turban riding a flying carpet, and that seems really racist to me.
That's
yeah.
So Leela is another sort of problem in the story. Less so than the racism, but the angle they're clearly going for here is like an Eliza Doolittle thing. I'm going to take you to Victorian London and make you a prim and proper lady. And it's like, they refer to her as a noble savage, which...
Yeah.
Fuck's sakes!
Yeah.
No!
Yeah.
It's everywhere you look.
It's everywhere. It's just... They're trying to make... So, yeah, it's like the Doctor's taking her here to try and make her more ladylike, and and she's interacting with Victorian society in interesting ways.
The biggest issue is, though?
What's that?
she, with all of her quirks and the way that she acts, is treated better than any Asian person in this episode.
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
Also, you didn't mention it, but the Doctor's dressed like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
that was weird.
It's an iconic look. And people love this look. Like, it's on the season Blu-ray for this season. The Doctor and that Deerstalker.
Fine. It's just a little out of place because there's no mystery yet.
No.
Anyway, he's just trying to fit into Victorian England.
I guess.
The cab driver heads off, determined to find the police. But all of a sudden, a fucking dummy attacks him.
And just when you thought it was only the awkwardness was just limited to depiction of Chinese characters, we have a little person.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Mr. Sin.
Mr. Sin.
Is actually part of Chang's act as a ventriloquist dummy, but is also alive.
As soon as he showed up, I said to myself, that's not a puppet.
Yeah, that's not a puppet. Actually, there's a fun fact about the guy in that costume.
Uh-oh.
He's a little person named Deep Roy.
Yeah.
And he
Roy?
His name is Deep Roy.
Yeah.
He, along with Simon Pegg, he and Simon Pegg are the only two people to have been in all three of Star Trek, Star Wars, and Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That's actually Deep Roy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
He's of Indian extraction.
Well, no, because he played the Oompa Loompas from the newer version of the Willy Wonka story. That's how I know.
Okay.
I didn't know that. I do know that he was basically the Vern Troyer of his day.
Yeah.
In that if they needed, again, I'm using the hopefully innovative term little person, he would usually get the call.
I think that's a fine term. If it isn't, I apologize to our viewers.
You're okay with me using that? You're not offended by that?
Little person's fine.
Yeah. You know what I'm trying to avoid saying.
I know what you're trying to avoid saying, and saying little person is better than saying that, I think. So but if anyone's offended by that, I apologize.
Say this, and I do apologize if anybody else is offended. They do, in this episode, they do call Mr. Sin a midget a lot.
Yeah.
And it is part of the whole problematic aspect of this episode.
Because of course they do.
That is fine because you are quoting from the episode. You're not saying yourself that he's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying little person.
I think little person's fine. If it's not, please correct us in the comments, and we apologize.
I think it is.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if it's not, anyway, I do apologize in advance. And you see, this is why I'm saying this, because it's good to have a learning process.
Yeah. Exactly. Like if call us out on this bullshit, we'll apologize. We won't double down and be like, no, the story's perfect. It's not racist. It's not racist.
Anyway, from Leela and the Doctor, we go to a...
I'm sorry, just that anyway.
Yeah. From Leela and the Doctor, we go to a rather significant supporting character, star of Big Finish audios the world over, Henry Gordon Jago.
And who was also, as you pointed out, in Inferno, as one of the millions of people who tried to tell Professor Stallman to maybe be a little more safe on your project. No, Mustro faster.
Yeah. I don't mind Jago as a character. He has this odd habit of speaking in alliteration. He likes flowery language.
Okay, the writer, Robert Holmes, I can tell he had a fucking blast writing all that alliteration.
I can't say I blame him.
No, I mean, that's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
And the flowery language is explained because he is, he runs a theatre.
Yeah.
And he's basically the sort of MC for this theatre.
There's some really good lines in the story. See, I can praise it. Like when there's a stagehand who thinks he saw a ghost in the cellar, and Jago just says, "Have you been drinking?" No. Then it's time you started.
Yeah, that's great. Not a drop, sir. It's time you started. He just hands the flask to him.
He just hands a flask.
Essentially, he's just as much a performer as his performers are.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's P.T. Barnum.
He's very charismatic. So you can see why they brought him back for 12 billion Big Finish audios.
He's P.T. Barnum. He's the fat guy that introduces Mr. Norrell and Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
I wouldn't say he's P.T. Barnum just because there's less animal cruelty in this episode.
Showman, charismatic announcer.
Right.
Barnum stereotype.
Still, don't go to circuses, people.
What did you want to mention about Jago?
Yeah. Oh, just that he's, as Kat said, he's very charismatic. He's probably one of the highlights.
Yeah.
Even he has a few problems about him, but...
Well, yeah. So the Doctor and Leela come across some Chinese guys disposing of the body that Mr. Sin stabbed, and we get a fight that wouldn't look out of place in John Pertwee.
No.
There's one shot I will really praise, and it's actually like when Leela comes in to bust some heads, I believe. There's actually a POV shot of one of the Chinese guys as he gets flung into a barrel.
Yeah.
That's actually really good directing. And
Leela goes hard several times in this story.
Oh yeah, she's like a warrior. A huntress.
Louise Jameson did not need to go as hard as she did in this story, but I appreciate the fact that she did.
I will say, I did appreciate those moments, though, where she was just like, and then we're going to stab him with a knife. And everybody's like, no.
I will say, though, that some of these Chinese triads, they're some of the whitest Chinese triads I've ever seen.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I'm sorry. I suppose that's marginally better than putting them in Yellowface.
Mm-hmm.
But they just dress up white guys in Chinese costumes.
Yeah.
Give them a ponytail and call it a day. Anyway, the fight ends. One of the men is accosted by Leela and the Doctor.
And they and a policeman go down to the station to take statements and whatnot.
Well, Leela gets arrested.
Yeah. They all get arrested.
Yeah, the three people that are still there after the fight, the Chinese man, Leela and the Doctor, they're all arrested. And after some amusing banter between the police and the Doctor in the station, along comes Chang.
Oh boy.
Exit the henchman.
Can I just say briefly about Chang real fast?
Go ahead.
So, quite obviously, he's in Yellowface. He has been specifically made up to look like he is the stereotypical Chinese man from that time period, correct?
Yeah.
He's like the caricature of a stereotypical Chinese man. You see what I'm trying to get across, though, right? This is what some people who are racist think that they look like.
Okay, it's Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
Chang is Fu Manchu, yes.
That's what the story is drawing on. It's drawing on Manchus. But it's not sanding anything off. It's just like, matching Fu Manchu with Doctor Who.
I just wanted to say exactly how far these prosthetics go, because not only do they make him actually, yellow in color, and it's like whenever you see him, he's very, very yellow, but I believe they also make his ears pointed.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And
Jesus.
Obviously, people of Asian descent have a different style of eyes than most Westerners do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is me trying not to say anything that sounds bad, but the obvious differences are obvious, where people who have Chinese, Japanese, whatever heritage tend to have more narrow eyes with what's called a singular eyelid. And they go all out to make his eyes as narrow as possible. And that is the extent to what we call racist here.
Yeah.
It's essentially like giving a Jewish character a big nose.
God.
So again, I don't know if this is them being actively racist or if they're just trying to really pay attention to the look of the time.
Either way.
Yeah, it's not a good look either way.
Yeah. It's like when you see him on stage performing or in the back, he's got all this stuff on. But here it's most obvious because he has no hat on. He's just sitting there in a well-lit room. It's really easy to see exactly what it is he looks like, especially when you do close-ups of his face. He is prosthetic all up to hell to look as offensive as possible, essentially.
Anyway, the police have called him in to translate, to get a confession out of this one random Chinese guy that they arrested. So he sits there, and he opens his ring and lets a little jewel out. And the guy puts it in his mouth and keels over dead.
It was poison.
And this is played as like a funny goof because Tom Baker is like, Li Chang, the master of magic. Show me a trick.
Very good.
That's a very good trick. Ha ha ha! That guy's fucking dead.
Doctor, a man just died. Not appropriate.
Yeah.
Also, a little bit of a weird joke as well, because the dude is performing an interrogation. You go up to him and say, "Show me a magic trick." He's not a performing.
Well, it's Tom Baker. He's an eccentric weirdo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it leads more to the racist aspect of this, where it's you perform stuff. Do a trick for me now.
And it's also that's just how fucked this is. Even like little innocent lines like that take on this whole other context when you really think about it. It's like, oh God, you can read it in that way, and that's fucked.
Yeah, once you go down the rabbit hole, you're never going back.
Like, you've got Tom Baker saying witty little lines and shit, but in this, paired with the racism and shit, it just, like, makes you go, oh God, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And
we do get some...
This is not a case of us trying to see racism at every corner. This is just the fact that they presented us with the racist aspects. So now, all of a sudden, we see parts where they may have...
Yeah, we're not trying to see racism at every turn, but there is racism at every turn.
There is. I mean, I was just
the racism.
Well, like this kind of hampered.
Sometimes you just have to call a spade a spade. I'm sorry.
I was ready to say it was well made and well acted, but it was racist. But holy God, is it
and
racist?
if this gets me labelled as a SJW or what have you, so be it. I mean, I'm not.
Fuck's sakes! I don't care if you think I'm an SJW. I'm a dumb lefty bastard.
In the long run, we can say that this is one of those things where whitewashing would have been a good thing.
Oh,
well,
just erase all of the Chinese stuff and just put in a bunch of white people, and we would have been fine.
I think I'd have been all right if they made the Chinese stereotypes a little bit less stereotypical and actually cast Asian actors in the Chinese roles.
Maybe.
Yeah, but there's still the problem of everybody else being racist.
So, this, as it turns out, the guy that Chang had commit suicide there, he was one of the Talons of Black Scorpions, which is like a Chinese gang, and they worship a ancient Chinese god called Weng-Chiang, the god of abundance.
Yeah.
Which will come in later, I'm sure. Yeah. But the body of somebody has been found. I'm not sure what body it is. Either way, this gets the doctor into the mortuary to meet another supporting character.
It's the cab driver.
Yeah, oh, the cab driver? Okay.
Yeah, because they find his the little badge that he wore that had.
Oh wait, now I remember. Yeah. There's two bodies. There's the cab driver's body, and then because I wrote in my notes, a body has been discovered.
Oh God. Danganronpa is too good to be referenced in this.
Yeah, but they find a body floating in the river.
Yeah. Hey and kids, you know what isn't problematic? Danganronpa.
Oddly enough, that's kind of true.
It's dark as hell, but it ain't problematic.
There you go. So yeah, now that I remembered and why I wrote that, because I was sitting here looking at my notes, and then I remembered. Oh yeah, the second body. Duh. Right. So that gets the doctor into the mortuary with another supporting character, Professor Lightfoot, the coroner.
Yeah, and this is... Oh, God. It's Henry Gordon Jago. And...
I don't know his name. I don't know. I thought it was Gordon,
George
Lightfoot singer.
George Lightfoot.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Henry Gordon Jago and George Lightfoot.
The actor who played Lightfoot died recently, I think, a couple years ago.
Trevor Baxter.
But they did 12 billion audios with Jago and Lightfoot.
You're not too far out. They did 12 series.
There you go. A lot.
Did they actually play Jago and Lightfoot?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's the actual actors.
I would actually be interested in that because they were quite the dynamic duo in this.
That's like the one good part of Talons mind for 12 series. Jesus.
I just hope it's a little bit less problematic than this was.
I don't know. I'm
nervous now.
But the doctor helps him investigate the bodies, and they find that the one at the river was attacked by an animal. And the bite marks and all that suggest a rat, but Lightfoot says that's much too big to be a rat. Then the doctor finds some hairs, and they're like 3 inches long, but the hairs on a rat should be like 1/4 of an inch long, 1/2 an inch long.
Not even that.
Well, that's what Lightfoot says. Something like that. Less than an inch long.
Having had pet rats and having found fur everywhere, it can somewhat be that long, but not the whole entire way. And honestly, it was really amusing for me because there are parts where they do close-up of like actual rats, and I was so excited to see that.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
It's funny, isn't it? Because the giant rat, we'll get to in a few minutes, but the giant rat, that is an effect that is very much not liked in fandom.
Like here. This. Okay, are we going to talk about this now?
No.
Anything
But
else?
the point is that's in the races of the two things that this story is criticised the most for.
I'll get into that when we talk.
We will, yeah. But anyway, a bit more of the
before
plot
that,
happens. So he's spoken to Lightfoot. Chang has returned to the theatre at this point to perform again. Jago notices there is blood dripping from Mr. Sin's hand.
Yeah.
That would be at all important.
Yeah.
He goes down to the cellar with his doorman Casey, who's Irish.
Right.
I bring that up because there's a rather unfortunate moment in part 2 that we're going to have to briefly talk about. But,
that line that Kat mentioned, I think?
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not just the Chinese that are insulted racially in this one, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I didn't even realize.
Anyway, back at the outside now. The Doctor is attacked again by another Chinese assailant. But this time, Leela just saves him by shooting the assailant dead in the back with a Janus thorn.
Okay, we got to talk about this scene a little bit because the guy throws an axe and misses Tom Baker. So the Doctor just turns around, walks up to the guy, and he's like, "Were you trying to get my attention?"
Yeah.
And then the guy is like knocked dead by a Janus thorn, which I should explain is it also comes from Leela's intro story, and they either paralyze you or they. Right? And the Doctor is really mad whenever Leela uses them because, hey, you're killing people. Don't do that.
He can hardly talk.
Yeah, man who never would my ass. I know. That's just how they play it.
Well, did she then go and say that he was about to kill you?
Yeah, that's the line. It's like, I thought I told you not to use these Janus. He was about to kill you. Was he? Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they go down into the sewer to investigate stuff, and they find some rats, and then they come across a giant rat in part 1.
Yeah. This is the effect that I can talk about now. This is the effect that is not exactly well liked amongst critics.
Well, technically, there are 2 effects here, I would think.
I personally have no problem with it. I mean, it's basically just a regular sized rat made to look bigger through camera trickery.
Well, the two effects. I actually watched a old episode of 60 Star Trek for my Halloween blog. It was called Cat's Paw, and at the end, it had like magic and witches and bullshit because it was like a Halloween episode of Star Trek. Yeah. And at the end, this witch like turns into a giant cat to chase off Captain Kirk. And they shot it basically the same way that they shoot the rat in this story, where it's just a regular-ass cat in tiny corridors, shot close up, to make it look like a giant cat is chasing them.
Excuse me, what? There's a Star Trek episode where a witch turns into a giant cat.
Yeah, 60 Star Trek was fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Okay, then.
So something that you want to point out, Kat, is that even in this cliffhanger, there is still some tones of racism, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah.
Go
So,
on.
essentially, and I do apologize if anybody does get offended by this, but it is a very common thing for racists to call anybody of Asian descent rat faces.
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
So, by associating the Chinese gang with a bunch of giant rats, it's kind of iffy.
oh my. I didn't realize.
I didn't know this. I didn't know of this.
Oh my God. You see, this is what we're saying. Like, when the story is this poisoned, every little bit, no matter how innocuous, just has this other reading that takes it in the worst light.
Yeah,
And
it's like you know the braids that they often have on their costumes during this episode, the little tiny braids that are in the back. Those are also called rat tails.
oh, jeez.
Well, I know of the rat tail being a synonym for a ponytail.
Yeah.
That's for anyone, though, not just of Asian descent.
I just
That's
want to.
where I think the whole idea came from, because if the tail is at the back of their head, then what's at the front?
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
just
that's
want to go
awkward.
off a little bit. I just want to go off a little bit again because you mentioned that the giant rat is a thing for the story. What you forgot to mention is that for a lot of people, say the people who will harass a critic online for saying that Talons of Weng-Chiang is racist, for a lot of people, the Talons of Weng-Chiang has one major problem, and it's that the giant rat is a shit effect.
Yeah.
Which, like, there are at least 3 or 4 levels of what in the fuck is wrong.
This is not the worst effect we've seen in the episodes that we've talked about.
No, it's not. Like, who cares?
It's not
It's-
great, but it's not that bad.
The bees in Delta were worse.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even my thing. My thing is that how privileged and uncritical can you be to look at Talons of Weng-Chiang, look past all that racism, and go, "Oh, a shit giant rat." That's the worst part about this otherwise perfect story. Like,
Yeah.
it makes me mad.
Yeah.
Legit. But you can't fucking see that. And
put it
you
plainly
attack
for
people
our
who see
audience
it.
at home, just to put it plainly for our audience at home, you see one shot where they take an actual rat and just film it as looking bigger than it's supposed to. The rest of the effect is it's Halloween season now. If you celebrate Halloween where you live, go to your nearest store if you can safely, or go online, look up rat Halloween decoration, and just pick one at random.
And
you pretty much got the effect.
there's one thing I want to bring up too, because the Blu-ray on the season set, the Blu-ray of Talons of Weng-Chiang, you know how they do like updated special effects, like
They
changed
didn't
snake?
Mara the rat.
They marred the rat, and I looked because in Exorcism we had to see everything here. I looked, it's just as shit. Like, you can't, like, to think you can go to Talons and say, "Oh, look, we CGI'd out that shitty giant rat. It's perfect now." Like, fuck. Ugh. Part 2.
I didn't even mind the rat.
I'm happier if they used an
I didn't even mind the rat
entire
either. Like,
time.
I've seen more effects.
And let's shotgun through this a little bit. So yeah, part 2, the rat is fended off with an oil lantern, which sets the sewer on fire, and the rat can't pursue them. The rat's not dead; it just runs off, squealing.
So Jago has some stuff now. He finds a glove down in his cellar with the initials EB on it, which, as we'll find out later, match the initials of the missing cabbie's wife.
Yep.
Yeah.
And before he can really do anything about that, Chang comes up. Then he just hypnotizes him with glowy eyes.
Yeah, this is an effect that was used in a 60s TV show, Thunderbirds.
I don't have it with me, but there's actually when the Talons. There was a video of an actual Chinese guy watching this, and pans to the TV, and then he pans back to himself, and his face is just like, really? Fucking really? Like, you can just see how done the man is.
Did he throw his remote through the television after that?
No. It was just a calm, like panning back to himself, and you can tell it all from his face.
I could have forgiven him for doing that, honestly. But
I know.
yeah,
Me
so
too.
I've seen this effect before. This is similar to an effect they used in the original Thunderbirds puppet show.
Right.
There's a villain in that called the Hood.
Mm-hmm.
The Hood is also of Asian extraction, and he hypnotizes people with glowing eyes. So I don't know if this was like a tribute to Thunderbirds, or if they ripped Thunderbirds the hell off, or a coincidence.
The guy who wrote Thunderbird did some Doctor Who stuff.
Well, maybe it was a tribute then, but
Yeah. Well, either way, yeah, Chinese man hypnotizing Jago.
So he's ordered to forget everything that he's just learned about the glove.
Mm-hmm.
He says that you will remember nothing after you said goodnight to Casey, and he doesn't.
Yeah. So then Chang goes downstairs and he taps on the floor to open up a secret entrance to an underground lab. And inside we get to meet for the first time the mysterious, the enigmatic titular Weng-Chiang.
The
Or as I like to call
Phantom
him.
of the Crapperer.
Okay, I was about to say, or as I like to call him, Great Value Brand Omega.
The Shantum of the Opera. There we go.
Shit! Yeah. Bwah, 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 bwah.
Honestly, I'm almost a little bit offended that such great music is associated with him, but they literally later on call him the Phantom.
Yeah, they do.
Right.
They just call him
Oh
the
my
Phantom.
God. Anyway, Weng-Chiang here. He's looking for something. A time capsule. Oh my God. I literally, the next note after you mentioned what they call, what they refer to Mr. Sin. I'm hesitant.
Yes.
Slurs.
Yes.
But I also wrote that they have another anti-Chinese slur in quick succession of this dialogue as well. I'm pretty sure it's said by one of the Victorian people. Jesus! Like we said, like you can try to do the of its time back then, but that falls apart when you hear that the Doctor and Leela get in on it.
Yeah.
Even so, it doesn't change the fact that Jesus Christ, you just said these words. I'm not I don't even want to repeat it.
Yeah.
I don't know how offensive it is, but I don't want to repeat the words.
That's fine. Anyway, thankfully we're done with the racism for a little bit because Professor Lightfoot has invited the Doctor and Leela to dinner, but the Doctor splits from them to go and talk to Jago. Now, initially, Jago tries to dismiss it because he thinks he's a performer trying to audition.
And the Doctor just fucks around with magic tricks.
Yeah, he plays along for a little bit, and that's quite endearing and entertaining. But then he gets to the actual meat of it. He realises that Jago has been hypnotised, so he pulls out his own watch.
And unhypnotizes.
He dehypnotises him, basically. He says, I will now command you to remember everything you were taught to forget. Not sure that would work, but I'll buy it.
Fine.
I do love Tom's smile when he's performing for Jago.
It's cute.
Yeah.
I've also got a note here that I guess Weng-Chiang's plans are, but he's been distilling life essence of all the missing women. This is obviously clearly since Victorian London and girls going missing. This is obviously a Jack the Ripper sort of.
Yeah. They actually mentioned Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, they actually mentioned Ripper.
Yeah,
Jack
which is odd because wasn't he eaten by a Silurian off screen?
Doctor Who canon, y'all.
Canon? What canon?
What's fun is that once Leela gets at Lightfoot's place, they get there and Lightfoot's servant, or servant, I guess?
Butler, yeah.
Butler, whatever.
Manservant. Manservant, yeah.
Well, not manservant. He says Mrs. Hudson, or she is. Whoever it is, they've cooked up dinner. You know, a whole bunch of like.
Oh, in that case, it's his housemaid. Yeah, housekeeper.
Yeah.
Housekeeper.
Cooked up a whole bunch of food. You know.
Yeah, and Mrs. Hudson is a reference to Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if they were implying that Lightfoot was inspiration for Sherlock Holmes. Maybe that was a plot point that was ultimately left out of the finished product.
Either way, my point is that they're gonna have dinner, and Leela just takes a big ass, goes to town on it.
Yeah, and then Lightfoot gives her a knife and says, "It's a good knife."
It's a good knife. And he's about to put his own on a plate, and he's just like, fuck it, and he takes up a turkey leg.
That's quite good.
Also, can I say, holy crap, how much food does this one person need? Because
that's
the
a good
idea
point.
that his housekeeper left all it out just
maybe
for him.
I've been eating calculations wrong myself, because I occasionally have them for Boxing Day every year.
Right.
And most of the food in that is finger food.
Right.
It's like they have like a whole roast turkey leg. They have like this whole roast beef with like slices taken off and arranged nicely around it. That Leela just picks up the whole roast and gnaws on it. And there's like 3 other platters full of stuff. It's like, holy
There's
crap.
a shitload of food, yeah.
Yeah, basically my family tradition is that some of the stuff that's not used up in the Christmas dinner, because there's an awful lot of food at Christmas time that's left over even after the Christmas dinner. We make a calculation and put some party food on there, like sausage rolls and pork pie, some ham, some cheeses, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you would eat some of it with a knife and fork because there's like turkey, but a lot of it's finger food.
Right. So
well, I mean, it's now.
So Weng-Chiang and Chang, try saying that 5 times fast. They're out in a carriage, and Weng-Chiang has this like tracker thing to try and find this time cabinet. So it starts beeping, and it starts beeping in the vicinity of Lightfoot, because Lightfoot, as it turns out, has the time cabinet.
Of course he does.
Yeah. So the backstory here is that we'll find out that he grew up in China, and his family was gifted this ancient artifact by some Chinese king.
Yeah, right. Gifted.
Gifted. Yeah, you know.
Essentially what happened was, apparently it was stolen from Chang at some point, and then it was gifted to Lightfoot.
Yeah.
By somebody else.
The king's guards took it from Chang.
Yeah.
And then they gifted it to Lightfoot's family, and he went back to England.
With it, yeah.
And so Weng-Chiang and Chang have been tracking it down for however the hell long.
Yeah.
And now we found that they found it as well. Anyway, Weng-Chiang must be a fucking span of like minutes. He gets back to the theater to fuck with the doctor.
These scenes, I wish they were better lit.
Yeah, maybe.
I couldn't tell what the hell was going on at some of the time of these. Basically,
there's a really funny scene where later on where the doctor and Jago are down looking at the cellar, and like a hologram ghost, Jago just fucking flat out faints.
Yeah, dead faint by Jago. But it's not a ghost; it's a hologram.
Yeah,
and it's designed to scare off intruders.
Which doesn't really work on the doctor. So then Weng-Chiang shows up. The doctor and Weng-Chiang have a bit of a run around in the theater, you know. And yeah, even before you made that joke, I was thinking, Jesus, this is all very Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
So they're running around, they're going up ladders and shit. Weng-Chiang straight up does a Tarzan swing from the rafters to another rafter. And then he shoves Tom Baker off a balcony, and Tom Baker's grabbing the curtain, and it rips and lands him down on the floor and shit. It's a pretty, it's a decent action-y scene, I suppose.
This bit really sucks.
So our episode 2 cliffhanger is Lightfoot goes out to get something, but then Leela hears a thud, and who should open the door but Mr. Sin?
Mr. Sin himself.
It was Mr. Sin in the dining room with a knife.
Well, dude, to be fair, Lightfoot doesn't go out to get something. He sees someone outside who ducks away as they look out.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have the full synopsis.
And the next time we see Lightfoot, he's unconscious.
Yeah, okay. He got.
So Mr. Sin has got, or one of his associates has got to him. Why they haven't killed him when they kill everyone else they're going against? Goodness knows.
Who knows? As we find out, Mr. Sin is really fucking jazzed about killing. So.
Oh God, yeah.
But we get to episode 3 now, and perhaps the best cliffhanger resolution. How does Leela resolve this cliffhanger?
She stabs it in the neck.
Yep,
oh, not just that. Not just that. She stabs him through the neck and then jumps through a fucking window.
Oh yes, this is amazing.
That is the best.
This is a brilliant stunt. So
I've got in my notes, this is a James Rolfe reference because he had a top 10 video of this. I wrote, top 10 scenes where Leela jumps through a fucking window. And this is all well-timed, too, because the doctor and he's looking around. But Chang's there, and he's got a gun. He's ready to shoot the doctor. And just as he's about to shoot, Leela jumps through the fucking window. So the doctor ducks to be like, what the fuck? And pew, the shot misses him.
yeah, cause and effect. Leela's daring escape causes Chang to miss.
And Chang takes off, but fucking Leela's like, oh, no, you don't, bitch. You hops on that carriage to chase him.
Yeah, Leela just has no chill. I love it.
Leela gives no fucks, and I am here for her.
There's an even better bit for
really
Leela coming up in the final part, but this is pretty good.
Oh,
But Mr.
yeah.
Sin, he's got this knife at his neck now, which he sustained in the struggle with Leela. And he's still walking around, so what the hell is this thing?
Well, we'll find out.
We will find out, but they get back to Lightfoot.
He's got the cabinet, and we know that Weng-Chiang is feeding his big ass rat.
And then the doctor just asks for a gun.
Oh yeah.
An
Because he wants
elephant
to
gun. Now, it's not actually an elephant gun, it's a blunderbuss.
It's a Chinese fowling piece. And he's got the great line. He's just like, made in Birmingham. That's the main requirement.
I don't know if this was like an inside joke or something, because later on he says he loads it with all manner of ammunition, and he's like, that thing will explode in your face. He says, it shouldn't, it was made in Birmingham. So I don't know if that's like an inside joke or something, but...
is Birmingham well known for, like, guns?
Birmingham's known for factories and manufacturing industry.
Okay, maybe that's it. It
I
was
don't
made in
think it's
Birmingham,
necessarily known
so-
for guns.
Well, it was made there, so it's probably that might be the joke. Let's
Basically,
just say
Birmingham
it's
is known as the second city of England, or the second city of the UK, because it's the biggest population after London.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know. Okay. Neat.
but yeah.
You
So
pointed it out on a map.
you've got the doctor on a boat with this massive gun.
Yeah, he's going down in the sewers. But meanwhile, Weng-Chiang, who's
He's gonna go hunt the elephant in the room.
oh my god,
Well, more likely he's going to shoot it in the face. But
Weng-Chiang meanwhile is bitching at Chang. I need them goddamn girls. Get me them goddamn girls, Chang.
yeah, and here's the thing about Weng-Chiang. He tells Chang that he's dying. But when he was running around the theatre with the doctor in pursuit, he didn't look to be dying.
Yeah,
So was he lying, or was this a continuity error?
Continuity error, let's say. Who gives?
Well, not a continuity error, but
I would
a production
argue
error.
that- I would argue that maybe he felt fine after the first girl that he took. Well,
Yeah.
at the very least, the one before the events of this this serial.
Maybe.
And then all that running around tired him out, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, just as we were feeling good about this episode slightly with that funniness with the giant elephant gun, don't worry, Chang's back to ruin it all.
Yeah, he's being the stereotypical sort of predator, you know.
So
going after
he
the
grabs
girl.
a young woman coming out of her house, I think.
Well, he doesn't really grab so much as he.
He hypnotizes her again, but there's a really awkward line that the woman says to him.
Oh God, what?
Again, apologies, but I'm quoting the episode, so I think it's okay. Mr. Ching Ching.
All right. Oh, for fuck's sakes! Like, I didn't write down all the fucking.
You do not want to know how many times the word oof in all capitals appears in my notes.
A lot.
This is the first real time I've got oof written in my notes.
Oh, oof is right. Oh God. Anyway,
That's not a good line.
so Chang nabs this lady coming home. He also gets one of the cleaning ladies at the theater. because they're nearby.
Yeah, but then Leela
And
is there
Leela's
too.
been tailing around me. Leela's been tailing this entire time. So when he leaves the first girl in his dressing room after the second, she comes in and you see a scene where she tries to snap the girl out of it. But then the next scene when Chang goes back to get the girl, you can clearly show, and they show it in a mirror of all things, not giving the story a Doctor Who mirror alert.
Yeah, please
Suck
don't.
it.
Yeah.
I do not deign it word. But you do see the shot where he takes the girl with him, and you see the closet open, and it's revealed that, oh wait, the girl was in there. Leela did a switcheroo.
Yeah, now this is a resourceful move by Leela.
It's gonna pay, yeah.
But it also puts her in danger.
Well, yeah.
So she is acting like a companion.
It's Leela. She don't give a fuck.
True, but and I'm glad that she does it. But anyway, at this point, we find out what Weng-Chiang is up to. A little bit.
Siphoning the life essence.
He is stealing these women's life essences, absolutely. And he puts one victim in the machine, the cleaning lady,
and he turns
by Banjo-Kazooie.
What?
This is just Gruntilda's contraption in Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh my fuck.
It is!
Oh my god, it is.
Anyway, yeah, so at this point, Leela decides, let's fuck shit up!
She tries to kill Weng-Chiang.
She goes for it. She goes hard. She don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and
there's a struggle. It doesn't really work, but she does manage to. Well, she doesn't really stop him from siphoning. The girl's still dead.
Yeah.
So she tries to kill him. It doesn't really work. So she retreats into the sewers, and Weng-Chiang basically locks the door behind her, bangs a gong. Oh, for God's sake, a gong, for fuck's sake.
Yep.
Geez, that's, I know, summoning the rats to go after her, but in this story, like I said, all the Chinese stuff, a fucking gong.
Well, hang on a minute, because a dinner gong is often used in, Victorian houses to signal dinner, and doesn't do with Chinese.
Okay, even so, you can see how you can read it two ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Either way, Weng-Chiang gets the rat's attention, and he's like, oh, the rat. I wish that you had died with me.
Yeah.
Yep. And then she's probably attacked by a Halloween decoration.
Yeah, but before that, the first lady, the one that hypnotized, snaps out of it and comes out of Chang's dressing room. Jago's there, and she doesn't know what happened or how the fuck she. Actually, Jago's not there. Casey's there. I don't know if Jago shows up.
Casey finds her.
Yeah,
and she's
like, I don't know what happened.
What the hell's going on here? But
and then she sees the poster of Chang. She's like, it was him. He did it.
Yeah. So she runs off. Jago admits to Casey he's working with someone high up in Scotland Yard on the case of the missing women, which of course is the Doctor. He thinks he's this really high up detective. He isn't, but he thinks he is.
Yeah. So the Doctor, meanwhile, is down in the sewers with a giant rat, and Leela's also down in the sewers, and she's found the giant.
Yeah, and found the giant rat's on top of her.
Which that's our episode 3 cliffhanger. Oh no! And it's a big giant rat.
Also, can I just say how weird it is, having seen some of the shows that I've seen, to have a Leela in the sewers?
Hey!
I was wondering when that would come up. Yeah, there you go.
So,
anyway, the resolution of this cliffhanger is Tom Baker
shoots the rat.
Yeah.
Man who never would.
And this is where we get another oof from
the oof of oofs here.
You got the line?
I've got the line. Again, apologies, but again, I'm quoting the episode. Mm-hmm. So Leela has a simplistic way of speaking in many regards. But this does not excuse what she's about to say here. She's talking to the Doctor about Weng-Chiang, and she says, and I quote, "The Yellow One called him Lord. Ugh.
Yeah. Fuck's sake. Like,
now, Leela is
again,
not being racist here. She is being descriptive. In a
but
very
that's
basic,
still
sensible way.
racist.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't. I'm not saying it excuses it. I'm saying why
Okay.
she says it.
Right.
I'm not excusing
Fine.
anything about this.
I appreciate that, because Jesus Christ, that line.
My skin was crawling watching about 80% of this story.
Honestly,
I
what I
even-
wish had happened was, as soon as she said that line, the doctor turns to her and says, "Alright, I know that you don't understand, but that's not the right thing to say. You can't say that about someone." But he didn't. He just accepted it, and it's like, oh, that makes it worse.
Yeah, like,
Hmm.
again, imagine Rosa, except there's companions who don't really saying fucking slurs and shit. And
Yeah.
not getting called on it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? That'd be fucked up.
Imagine they're in the scene on the bus where they realize that they can't get up, and then the doctor just pipes up with "Get to the back" or something like that.
Oh, fuck's sakes.
They could have done this so much better.
Yeah.
They could have done a lot about this so much better.
Yeah.
There's a scene that I forgot to mention in episode 3. It's just simple. Some Chinese guys doing the laundry at Lightfoot's house, taking a bin and leaving a bin, which is period accurate. They ran a lot of laundry houses back then.
Yeah, that's period accurate. That's not racist.
But it's actually
It's pretty
key to the
obvious
episode.
to know exactly what's going on here. You
Yeah.
know what's in the basket.
I didn't actually catch it on this till
Really?
part 4. Well,
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
how
catch-
Mr. Singh got in.
Yeah, that's how Mr. Singh gets in. They got him in an episode earlier. I didn't catch that, so it's like, oh, okay.
And that's
Because
when the
as soon
doctor
as I
refers
saw
to
it
him
with
as
basket,
the
I
word we're
immediately
not going to
thought
mention.
Mr.
But
Sin's in there. Mr. Sin's in there.
Maybe
Because,
I
I
wasn't
mean-
paying attention because the racism broke my brain, but yeah.
Maybe. But they kind of typecast him as always being in baskets. So like when Jago goes up to the dressing room in order to check out the blood that's on his hand, he's in a basket. You know, he's carried around in baskets all the time.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I just expected him to be in the basket because that'd be the easiest way to get into the house is just have someone on the inside.
As it turns out, you were right.
Yay!
yeah,
But before that, Chang is plotting for his next show, and he got a gun.
well, Chang has been dismissed by Weng-Chiang at this point for being a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
He's out of favour with his master.
This is his
So to
last-
try and regain his master's favour, he's going to kill the doctor.
Yep.
And while that's happening, Leela's back at Lightfoot's getting another change of wardrobe.
Yeah, because, well, she changed out of her dress and was running around.
The housekeeper has got a new outfit. And you brought up Eliza Doolittle earlier. This is very Eliza Doolittle, this outfit.
Yep.
This is very My Fair Lady.
Mm-hmm.
Just without
And
the
they even go
wonderful songs and
to the
parties.
theater in that.
She does,
yeah.
yes. And
So
this, well, a large
Yes.
part of part 4 are these scenes in the theatre.
Yeah.
Which
So,
are
so before we get to the bit that's the most famous part of this episode, the most important part of this episode, there's a nice little bit of dialogue between Casey and Jago in the theatre. And Jago's discussing what his role is at the theatre. And Casey just says to him bluntly, "But you don't do anything, Mr. Jago."
Oh yeah, you didn't mention the. Yeah, you were going to mention something in part 2, I think, about a line Jago says to Casey.
Oh yeah. Again, apologies.
This fucking
Cat
line.
pointed this out. He calls him a pixelated leprechaun.
Yeah.
That's not even alliteration. What the hell's that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who the
It's
fuck
like,
knows?
I actually had to ask it. We have a separate chat that we use for all the Doctor Who stuff, and I had to ask him that. Did he actually say what I thought he said?
Yeah, he said. I wound back and he said it. All right.
I looked up the transcript and it was there. I was like, what?
It's just so out of character for him.
It's like,
Right.
even putting aside the obvious issues with calling an Irish man a leprechaun, why pixelated? What the
Yeah, I
hell
don't
does
get that.
I don't know. But
Computers weren't a huge thing in the 70s.
there must have been. There's another meme. the writer was meaning, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he meant drunk.
Probably. Which doesn't help.
No.
Considering
Because he respects Casey. He likes Casey.
Yeah.
They get on.
What
I mean, he thinks that him being frightened of a ghost at first is a bit silly.
I kind of like the scene where, because the Doctor and Leela are at the theater watching the show. Yeah. There's just a lady singing, Daisy, Daisy. They're up on the balcony. And the Doctor and Leela have a good line where everyone's singing along. And Leela says, "Are we required to join in? There's no obligation."
Yeah.
But then Jago shows up and he does like a stealth check where he's just going in and he's crawling around like, do. Doctor, hey, it's me, it's Jago.
Yeah.
I just found it cute.
He introduces Chang. Lightfoot's not at the theatre because he's remained at his house to protect his cabinet.
Which won't really help.
And he says they won't catch George Lightfoot napping a second time. We'll see if they do or not later on, but back at the theatre...
The gang catch Mr. Lightfoot napping.
Do you know what? I'm not going to put a title card up because this doesn't deserve it, but yes.
It does not, but I had to.
Real fast. It bothered me so much that I went to look up and see if there was anything for pixelated that I could find. And in the definition that we know about, like pixels on a screen, that hadn't been used until like the 80s. However, there is another word that's pixelated, and that means somewhat unbalanced mentally.
Oh my God!
So he's calling him an insane leprechaun.
Oh, it gets worse everywhere you look.
I swear to God, Talons. Like I told you, exorcism, get it out.
Yeah, I'm beginning to come around to your way of thinking, but anyway, Jago introduces Chang.
With more alliteration, of course.
Yeah, Chang does a bit of basic magic, and then he spots the Doctor.
Before that, I just want to say I do particularly like one alliteration, legendary legerdemain.
Yes, that's
good.
The only time I knew of the word legerdemain was from Yu-Gi-Oh! Before that, so.
Oh, big same. But
it's the name on the cards. But yeah. So he spots the Doctor in the audience on one of the balconies. Mm-hmm. He throws him a deck of cards. He gets him to pick a card out of the deck, and then he says, "I'm going to put that card in the deck, and I will shoot at the deck of cards, and just your card, I think it's the Ace of Diamonds, will have a bullet in it." And you think, okay, he's going to shoot the Doctor and pass it off as an accident. And the Doctor calls his bluff. He moves the deck of cards in front of his face.
Yeah.
Which is great. And you hear this sort of gasp from the assembled audience. Whether he was going to shoot him or not, I don't think he was, because it would have been far too obvious. He just performs the trick normally.
Good trick. And then he gets.
I don't think he was intending to do anything with this. He was just, showing the Doctor, "I know you're here. I can kill you at any time. I'm just not going to do it."
I think that's it. Yes. Anyway, he invites the Doctor onto the stage.
Before that, we should mention that meanwhile, back at Lightfoot's house, black scorpions are attacking, and they sneak up on one of the policemen outside and axe him in the head.
The back, but yeah.
Back, head, I'm not sure where.
Well, I don't think they get away with axing him in the head.
I mean, look, sometimes you need to have help, so you go up to a police officer and you ask them a question.
Cat.
I need my employment somewhere. This is demoralizing.
So I appreciate the attempt at humor, but still, cat.
So Chang's next magic trick is the Cabinet of Death.
Yeah, this is an old staple magic trick.
Which, okay, this is a funny scene. They put Tom Baker in the cabinet. They whirl it around.
He just walks off.
Just walk away.
And the crowd sees him and laughs. And then Chang gets a joke. He realizes that he opens the cabinet and he's not there. And he says, again, "I'm not going to do the accent, don't worry."
Fucks at this line.
He says, "The bird has flown. One of us is yellow."
Which
And everybody laughs uproariously because,
Which,
of course, Chinese
which I will
people
say
are
that Chang is like playing up his ethnicity on
Yeah.
stage of
yeah,
persona,
yeah.
but that doesn't help much
No,
with this fucking story, does it?
Yeah. Anyway, the trick continues with his assistant taking
And
the
you know,
place of the doctor. He
he's
does the
sticking
standard,
to
running
it.
the swords through the cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Meanwhile, down below, where I guess the guy is supposed to go, Casey's getting the trapdoor and shit ready, and Weng-Chiang shows up. Dun dun dun.
yeah.
So when Chang gets the trick all done and pulls the swords and is ready to reveal his grand illusion, surprise! A body has been discovered.
Again, yeah. Casey falls out.
Oops.
yeah, basically, there's a trap door underneath the box. Lee, who's his assistant, goes through the trap door, comes face to face with Weng-Chiang. Lee faints, and apparently Casey saw him and was so afraid that he died of fright. And then Weng-Chiang decided, hey, let's put him in the box just to be a troll.
I guess.
So once Chang sees this, he goes to find.
Yeah, Chang is as surprised as everyone else is at this. This was not part of his act. Which begs the question, what was he planning to do with the doctor?
Who knows?
He said he's going to kill the doctor. He had the chance to shoot him and he didn't take it. Then he just has the doctor walk off the stage. It doesn't do anything to remedy it.
Oh, that's not even the best part. The entire time, the doctor is the one handing him the swords.
Yeah, Chang just runs with it and says, my newest assistant here will help me unlock the cabinet. So was he planning to get him off at the end of the trick off stage or something? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
So Weng-Chiang has flown the coop.
So
Chang
is
down there. Yeah, Chang basically gets away and he's like, oh no, I failed. Disgraced my ancestors or whatever. Like, God's sakes. And he basically commits suicide. Rat.
My emperor, I failed you.
Oh, God.
Blah, blah, blah.
But the cliffhanger to episode 4, Mr. Sin and Weng-Chiang get the time cabinet and they go off in their carriage.
Yeah. The cliffhanger is maniacal laughter.
So, episode 5, because this is a 6-parter.
In fact, no, the cliffhanger is not that. The cliffhanger is Lightfoot is caught napping a second time. So, the first thing I have in my notes, I don't know, there's no real cliffhanger resolution to it. The first thing I have in my notes is the nature of Mr. Sin, where the doctor, I keep calling him Tom Baker, which is accurate, I suppose. That's fine.
Yeah.
The doctor recognizes what Mr. Sin is, something called the Peking homunculus from the year 5000.
Which almost caused World War VI.
Yeah. I will say that the weird world building in the last 2 parts, where it's talking about all the 51st century shit, I kind of dig.
Just wish it was in a better story.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the weird Time War shit that they just say and never explain, like the Jaws of the Nightmare Child and shit like that.
Yeah. Also, I should point out that for 2 weeks now, we've had a Full Metal Alchemist comparison.
Oh, fuck's sakes. So there's something about the Peking homunculus, like a puppet thing with the cerebral cortex of a pig, and it wants to kill people.
Yeah.
So it's a homicidal little cyborg, basically.
Pretty much.
I wouldn't even say a cyborg, or
right.
Isn't a cyborg? It has to be half human, half robot.
I would say it's a machine, or mostly a machine.
I would say
whatever Mr. Sin is.
Human-ish.
Anyway, Weng-Chiang in his lair with a giant Chinese dragon and shit. Got a new lair now, you know. He's ready to do his grand experiment, but these guys forgot his special bag of time equipment. And Weng-Chiang is fucking pissed.
Yeah, and Chang's assistant bites the bullet, or bites the poison pill.
Yeah. Anyway, the doctor mentions the power source that Weng-Chiang is using is called, of all things, Sigma energy. And let me tell you, Talons of Weng-Chiang can Sigma.
You beat me to it.
Yeah.
I was about to say, it might as well be called Suck on These Energies and Suck on These Nuts.
So part 5 is basically all like a stalling tactic of, Weng-Chiang doesn't have the bag, so we got to spend an episode getting the bag back.
Because the writer's got to eat.
Yep.
Yeah, Robert Holmes got to eat, so we get an episode where Jago and the bag, which the doctor's left behind. Has the doctor left it behind? Or I don't have the exact.
The bag was left behind accidentally during the theatre scenes.
Right.
Jago found it.
Yep.
Jago found it.
And then he finds out that the Doctor and Dr. Lightfoot have been seen together around town. So he pays Lightfoot a visit.
Okay.
And so Big Finish's greatest duo is born.
Yep.
Jago and Lightfoot.
So they meet. Up. They leave the bag there, and they basically are going after Weng-Chiang themselves.
I quite like their first meeting together because Jago is sort of like he mistakes Lightfoot for his butler.
So it's just like, announce me, man.
And so he's insulting him, and then Lightfoot says that I am Dr. Lightfoot, and he backpedals so hard you can practically hear the gears in his brain. I will say this: part 5 and 6 are probably better than the rest of the story, which still doesn't say much.
Maybe I don't know. At this point, I'm too detached and mad.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Everything is tainted at this point.
But yeah, the Doctor and Leela track stuff down somewhere. Where is this?
It's
like
a
a
Chinese laundry.
It's a Chinese laundry
They go
house.
to Chinese laundry, which is a front for an opium den.
Which, of course.
And again, that is historically accurate. That was often the case.
But Jesus Christ. And who
speaking
should they
of Jesus
find?
Christ, how is Chang still alive?
Well, apparently the rat only took his legs. So
He got
came
mauled.
here.
He got mauled off camera by the giant rat in part 4.
And he came here and just took a shitload of opium to kill the pain.
But the aftermath that they show is pretty damn brutal for the 70s.
Yeah.
I thought he was dead because he's floating face down. The rat is sort of dragging him off, face down. You would seem to eat him basically, but no, he turns up here in the Chinese laundry, and he's taking a load of opium to dull the pain. He's dying.
So he gets a sad death scene. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, good riddance.
Perform for the Queen next month. Oh.
Honestly, should have died a lot sooner, so then we wouldn't have to deal with him this long.
But he does give 2 clues to where the Doctor can find Weng-Chiang. He didn't just say you can go to this exact address, because no, that would be too convenient.
He's high out of his mind, and the writer's got to eat.
He touches the Doctor's shoe. So what was that? Shoe, boot street. And a message: beware the eyes of the dragon, and then he dies. And the Doctor's not happy. He's left them a Chinese puzzle.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Come on, that one's okay. A Chinese puzzle's
like,
a real thing.
Right. It's still hard to have any goodwill toward anything in this episode just because of all the shit that surrounds it.
It really is.
I thought that now Chang's out the way. That's it. We'll have to deal with racial stereotypes. The very next scene, another actor in Yellowface shows up. For God's sakes!
The very next scene, what?
The very next scene after Chang has bought the farm.
What's that?
One of Weng-Chiang's goons shows up, and it's another actor in Yellowface.
Oh fuck! But yeah, Jago and Lightfoot tail the guys to Weng-Chiang's base and immediately get captured.
Yeah, this doesn't go very well, but it does lead to a rather funny bit where Lightfoot and Jago are not going to tell Weng-Chiang anything. So he grabs hold of Jago by the throat and he starts to choke him to death.
and
Jago exclaims, "You're choking me!" And he goes, "Exactly!"
But yeah, Lightfoot eventually gives up where he left the bag, and
the shantum of the opera here is quite something.
Like his maniacal ranting. He's really disdainful of the Chinese people he has to work with.
Yeah, but you called him Budget Omega earlier.
Yeah.
This guy's not fit to lace up Omega's boots.
Yeah. But he doesn't have racist ranting about them, but it's just like disdainful, dehumanizing ranting. Like,
he hates everyone and everything, basically.
Yeah. He's just, and you're like, primitive bastards, you idiots, you incompetent buffoons. Shit
We
like
get another funny scene after this, another funny line, in fact. So the Doctor and Leela are preparing to go and find Weng-Chiang. And Leela is trying out sporting equipment as potential weapons. She's using a cricket bat. She's trying to throw a golf club like a javelin. But before that, the Doctor says, Eureka's Greek fault. This bath is too hot.
It's cute.
It actually means I have found it, but I'll let them have that.
So they're going to set a trap for Weng-Chiang because
but he got there first.
They have to come here to get the key. They have to come here to get the key now. And we do have a bit of, I guess you'd call it padding almost, where Jago and Lightfoot try to escape their jail cell via a dumbwaiter, only to get immediately recaptured.
Yeah.
So it's like a 2-minute scene, which I guess has some funny dialogue from them, but also like you could cut it and nothing would happen.
You could, but I don't mind their antics.
Their antics are okay.
Their antics do make this a little bit easier to swallow.
Right.
But not much. But the cliffhanger I'm alluding to is that Leela's trying out these weapons, these improvised weapons. She's like trying to throw a gold club like a javelin. Weng-Chiang pops up from behind and chloroforms her.
And she pulls off his mask.
He doesn't just chloroform her. It's actually really funny because she's leaning back, like aiming to throw this, and she's doing that thing where you sort of rock back and forth. And like the first time she does it, he goes for it and misses entirely.
Yeah, he whiffs.
And then he does it again and actually gets her that time.
But he messed with the wrong person because she fights back, and in the struggle, she rips off part of his mask.
Oh
and this
my God! His face is melted.
This hideous face is revealed.
Oh my God!
It's fine. It's fine.
This leads then to our final part, mercifully.
Thank God. Okay, so yeah.
Let's get this over with.
They contact Leela. The Doctor shows up, and there's Weng-Chiang and all his guards, and we basically have a little bit of a Mexican standoff with the key to the time cabinet.
Yeah. And there's another nice little bit where he says, well, if you let Leela go, I will come with you and you'll get the key. Release Jake. We'll go to the House of the Dragon, release your hostages, Jago and Lightfoot, and I'll give you the key. Yeah. And then there's a bit where he's emptying his pockets. The Doctor is emptying his pockets.
Which, that's a running joke that the Doctor just says, I'm shitting his pockets.
I think it happens in his very first story as well.
Probably. I haven't seen Robot in a while.
Yeah, but he says, I'm always putting things in my pockets and then forgetting where I've put them. And he's like taking out all these things. And when Chiang is getting impatient, he's going, I have never appreciated frivolity.
Yeah,
they try to make him this big, intimidating villain, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We're going to the House of the Dragon to see Lightfoot. So we get there, and Mr. Sin decides to climb into the Chinese dragon, and this is part of Chang's warning because the Chinese dragon has fucking laser eye.
Yeah, the mouth of the dragon. So
Eyes of the dragon.
The Doctor is trying to bargain with Weng-Chiang here.
Yep.
And while this is happening, we get a bit of a reveal on Weng-Chiang, who's not really Weng-Chiang. He's actually a 51st century criminal called Magnus Greel.
And there's more wild world building here where the Doctor says that he was part of the Filipino army at Reykjavik in Iceland.
Yeah.
Which, neat bit of world building.
What's the title he gives it? The Butcher of Brisbane.
Yep. He killed a lot of people in the 51st century.
That's a title.
And also, and he used experimental time travel to escape, but it brought him back to Victorian times and fucked his metabolism up. So now he needs to steal the life essence from women. But now he's trying to get his time cabinet back to try again.
Yeah.
And if he tries again, the Sigma energy, which is unstable, dead-end time travel bullshit, will snap and probably destroy like half of London or some whatever the fuck.
So the Doctor tries to bargain with Greel, not just to let Jago and Lightfoot go, but also the 2 girls he's got as hostages that he didn't know about until now. This angers Greel, and Mr. Sin shoots the Doctor with the dragon.
Right.
Laser eyes, but he just knocks him out. He doesn't kill him. Obviously. Yep. Meanwhile, somehow Leela has gotten into the lair as well, despite not being with them.
I think she followed them.
I think she tailed them or something. And can we just appreciate in this part that Leela goes the hardest she's ever gone?
Leela does. I wrote in my notes, and I quote, "Goddamn, Leela is metal fuck."
Yeah, and she is.
Yeah.
So go ahead. What'd she do?
I love this bit. So while the Doctor is rigging up an impromptu gas bomb to knock out the Tong and escape with his friends and the 2 girls, Greel is doing a sort of a villain monologue. It's not particularly interesting enough to remember all the details. But as he's laughing it up and as he's talking, Leela's behind him, creeping up with a knife, and then she just screams, "Die, bent face!" and tries to kill him.
Jesus.
Amazing. They struggle. She actually gets the upper hand on him. He begs for his life. She's not having any of it. She says, "Spawn of evil, now I destroy you." But unfortunately, the Chinese get to her first.
And he throws her into his...
Yeah, he's furious that he's nearly been killed by her for a second time. So he's about to stab her. He says, no, a far more fitting death would be to put you in my distillation chamber.
Yep.
And then Leela gets an amazing line.
And then Leela gets the fucking killer line.
Yeah, so she says, "You can kill me however you wish, but I promise you this. When we are both in the great hereafter, I shall hunt you down, bent face, and put you through my agony 1,000 times.
Holy shit!
Wow.
Kill me if you want, fucker. When we're both in hell, I'll find your ass.
I have to say, I knew absolutely nothing of Leela before this episode, and this honestly isn't the greatest introduction to her. But honestly, I'm all for her. I'm Team Leela, 100%.
I hope she's better in other stories that she's in, because this one moment is fantastic.
Yeah.
It instantly marks her out as different to all the other companions, but also as a companion. I love it. So the Doctor and the others have escaped by now. The girls leave the scene, because of course they do. And then Sin goes rogue. So we said that Leela goes hard, but Mr. Sin goes hard too, but in a very different way. So he starts shooting with the dragon, and he doesn't care who he blasts.
Just pew, pew, pew. Well, to be fair, he does care about not hitting Greel. At the very least.
That's the only one he won't hit.
Yeah.
He happily shoots some of the henchmen.
Honestly, he's just all for killing.
He kills the... He's sort of giggling, like, as he's doing this. I think he's got, like, bloodlust or something, but...
He's having a time with it.
He is. I hope Deep Roy enjoyed this scene.
Hopefully.
I can't believe it's Deep Roy.
Yeah?
I had no idea.
But, anyway, Mr. Sin's trigger-happy tendencies prove to be the undoing of the villainous duo here, because one of the dead Tongs drops a gun. Jago provides a distraction, then he gets his head taken off. Leela gets the gun, and there's a nice little relatable bit here where she misses completely the first time. And she nearly shoots Lightfoot. And he's like, "What are you trying to do, woman?" And he's like, "I've never fight one of these before." Yeah, that's relatable. I like that she doesn't immediately get how to do the new skill first time.
She's a quick learner.
It takes her a couple of goes, but she is a quick learner because she eventually shoots out the eyes of the dragon, so it's no longer any threat.
Yep.
No more lasers for you, Mr. Sin. Greel is just...
that they do have is at one point Greel goes over to the cabinet and I guess he's trying to keep it safe or something, but the Doctor is trying to convince him not to use it because it'll cause a massive implosion, and then you can see Mr. Sin just sort of perks up at that and immediately starts shooting at Greel.
Yeah. Well, he aims for Greel, but at this point Leela shot out the dragon's eyes.
Wild.
Yeah.
So he can't do
It's
anything
one of
with
those
it.
where
Greel's
I don't know if
cursing
he
Mr.
was-
Sin. He's cursing the
Yeah.
Doctor. He's cursing anyone that will listen to him. The Doctor tries to get him to surrender. Greel fights with the Doctor briefly, and the Doctor throws him into his own distillation chamber. Man who never would, my ass.
And Greel gets Thanos disintegrated.
Cellular
Yeah.
collapse. Which is metal, but not as metal as Leela.
Oh yeah, well once that happens, we've still got Mr. Sin to deal with.
Oh yeah, and the Doctor deals with him
God.
by giving him the F5.
God.
He just spins him around on his shoulders, throws him to the ground, and then pulls out the cortex.
And I'm sorry. Okay, so I don't know if they use like a stunt double for Leela or what. I don't know. But essentially, Mr. Sin jumps on her back, and then he's pulled off of her and jumps on someone else's back. And then it cuts to where the Doctor has him, and it's very, very obviously a puppet.
Yeah.
Like an actual puppet.
Well, I'd hope that wasn't Deep Roy.
So
If it was,
funny.
I hope they paid him a lot of money to take that, because that looked bad.
Knowing how they tend to treat little people, probably not.
Yeah. And then the Doctor brings the experiment to an end by stamping on the key and shattering it into 1,000 pieces. He could have just dropped it, but I suppose stamping on it is more dramatic.
Yeah.
And
It's
then,
shattering.
mercifully, we get the end of the story. The Doctor and Leela said their goodbyes to Jago and Lightfoot.
It's even better than that. At one point, they hear a jingle, and the Doctor's like, "Oh, it's the Muffin Man. Who wants muffins?"
What?
Oh my God.
It's like, okay.
Jago gets a line that's rather interesting given the current political climate involving the police.
Oof.
He basically says, I've said it before, I'll say it again, our police are wonderful, aren't they? And then the TARDIS disappears. Lightfoot doesn't know what the hell to make of it, and Jago just figures the little trick and says, I think even the great Lyson Chang would have appreciated that stunt. And, thankfully, roll bloody credits.
It's over.
We're free. Well, we're not quite free. We have to give our final.
Damn it.
Who's going first?
I think it's only fair that you go last.
Fair. Okay.
And put the proverbial helmet on this thing.
Go ahead. Then.
So, Kat, this was your pick. Why don't you go first?
Okay, this works.
Yeah, sure. So I think that we can mostly agree that this was an okay story. However, it would have been a lot better if it did not have the racial aspects of this. So it's very obviously very heavy-handed on coming down on people of Chinese heritage. It's really awful in that aspect. I'm going to just put aside the racism aspect for right now because it's such a huge part and say that everything else was fine. But once you get to the point of bringing that racism back in because you have to, because it's such a big part of the show, the racism takes the whole thing down for me. So I enjoyed the story, essentially, but every single time one of the Chinese, quote-unquote Chinese characters came on the screen, immediately my enjoyment went out the window.
Yeah. And basically, my views on it are very much the same as Kat's. So, mechanically, functionally, this is a pretty good Doctor Who story. Mechanically only. But you would have to ignore all of the horrible racist aspects and the really stereotypical aspects, and I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with doing that. And while we were talking, I realised exactly what this reminded me of. This is the Live and Let Die of Doctor Who.
Oh, shit!
Because
You're right.
Live and Let Die is a really good, mechanically, Bond movie. It's entertaining, there are good performances in it. But it's hard to watch it and not notice the, should we call it blaxploitation elements?
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Live and Let Die commits less sins than this one.
I haven't seen it in a while, so I can't debate.
But yeah, it's the live and let die of Doctor Who, and that's not a good thing. And I'm just grateful that we never have to bring it up again after tonight.
So you're telling me that there are Bond fans who think Live and Let Die is a good one, and the only problem with it is inflating Yaphet Kotto at the end?
I don't think that Live and Let Die ever reaches the top of any Bond fans list.
I just really wanted to make that joke. So
yeah, it's a good joke. It's a good joke. I appreciated it.
Okay, so for me, then, yeah, I stand by what I said at the top. This is my least favorite episode of Doctor Who because it's the only episode of Doctor Who I know that people I respect get harassed over their critique of it. Even putting that aside, this is, it has some funny lines and funny and well-acted bits and nice moody set pieces, but fuck's sakes, I can get that from Baker. If I want a good moody Tom Baker story, I've got the Hinchcliffe era. If I want a funny one, I've got Death. If I want a good Leela, there are a couple of good Leela stories down the line that I can watch. So why in the fuck this racist trash in my life when I could get that stuff from other people? I really cannot understand the people. Sixth best Doctor Who story.
I think I can somewhat explain this, but honestly, I don't understand it that well either. But that's basically because I don't understand why people hate each other anyways for something that can't be helped. You can't stop being Chinese or Japanese or, from the Middle East or from Africa or wherever you're from. You can't stop that. You can't just go around and say, oh, I'm no longer black because I say so. But ultimately, I think what people are trying to do is, if you love something a lot, there are some people who are able to sort of cast aside their bad parts. You'll see this a lot where it's called essentially the honeymoon phase of dating, where you'll go with someone and you'll see only the good parts of them and never see the bad stuff that they have on the side. And it's considered to be so good because it's like you're on your honeymoon the entire time. But as soon as the honeymoon's over, suddenly reality comes crashing down and you have to deal with all the negative aspects as well. So that's what I think is going on here, is that all these Doctor Who fans are having a sort of honeymoon phase where, oh, this is Doctor Who. They can't be racist in Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who. I mean, it's perfectly fine. It's a little iffy, but you know what? It's a great story. We're going to love it till the end of time. And they're essentially just ignoring and hand-waving away the racism aspects.
Like, I can understand that on the personal. Like, if you want to personally love the Talons of Weng-Chiang despite its... Like, I will gladly let you do that in your own time, on your own mind. It's when they reach out and get people for rightly criticizing, holy shit, this is racist.
This I can argue as well, is because a lot of people don't like being wrong. They don't like being proven wrong.
Right.
And they don't like the idea that someone does not like what they like.
I understand.
I'll go one stage further. They can't admit they're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And you see this a lot on the internet where people will just attack you for not liking something. Or they will attack you for liking something, or anything whatsoever. It's like, when, to put it in perspective, something I like My Little Pony, the new TV show. I like watching it. I like seeing, all the people get into it. Do you guys really think that any brony deserved the hatred that other people showed them?
Absolutely not.
No.
Nobody deserves hatred like that.
There's really no reason for that to happen either. It's the same thing with gay marriage, or people being trans or anything like that.
Yeah.
If it's not actively hurting you, there is no reason for you to be so disgusted by it or hate it or anything like that. But the problem is that people take it way too seriously, and they see it as a personal offense rather than what it actually is.
Yeah.
None of their goddamn business.
I think it's also like when these people see the critique. Talons is racist as shit. They think, but I love Talons. I can't be racist. It says to be. I'm not racist, so
yeah.
But
been
anyway,
the argument of I can't be racist. I have a black friend.
exactly. Like,
Oh God, no.
if you like Talons, I'm not going to shame you, but don't go after other people.
If you like Talons, you are not a racist. But don't defend it.
As shit, and
don't give the people that find this uncomfortable to watch crap.
Yeah.
Just don't do that.
We all find this problematic as shit. And I use that term to mean, yeah, we agree that it has some finer, also some major problems. It is, quite literally, problematic.
I am fine with you calling this problematic.
Thank you.
And I don't like that word, but this is what it was designed to be used for.
Yeah. I feel I'm using a correct definition of it. There have been some sort of, catch-all ways of using it. I'm trying to use it in this most to appease you. But if you like the story, fine. Just accept that other people are going to find fault in it, and don't attack them. I'm not attacking you, but people like that attack someone I respected. So I hate this story forever because of it now, and it's not very good to begin with. Racist trash. Just, I'm done with it.
Yeah, we never have to mention it again. And I will say that I forgot to mention this at the top of the podcast, but you know what? Bringing this up now is probably even better. We're recording this on Columbus Day.
Yep.
Oh, fuck, that's right. Columbus.
Yep. The great American holiday of celebrating a murderer who decided to spread syphilis to everybody because he fucked a llama.
Well, okay, so shall we put the Talons to bed and talk about what we're going to do next time?
We can do, yeah, but I just want to reiterate that if you do like the story, I'm not going to come after you.
Yeah.
Because that's not my style.
We'll respect your personal opinion.
But I mean it. This is the very last time we talk about this now. This is not a bit. This is not a joke. I don't want to say we're banning it, and if you think this is censorship, it's not censorship. We're just choosing not to talk about it.
This is a voluntary moratorium.
We are not saying that you can't talk about Talons to anyone else. Of course you can.
Yeah.
We're not being the thought police.
For fuck's sakes. Yeah.
We're not.
Essentially, take this episode as our stance on Talons, and then don't ever talk to us about it again. we're not going to debate anybody. We're not going to go after anybody. We're not going to think about Talons anymore after this.
Basically, don't talk to me or Raquel's Kitten Chester ever again.
Basically, like we said, it's an exorcism of Talons.
Yes, and we have now exorcised the demon. Be gone.
The evil is defeated.
Yeah.
In the words of two very, very amazing people, just be excellent to each other.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So then.
Okay, so it's Joey's choice next week.
Yes.
So
okay, this is fun.
Are we slipping further into hell, or is this a palate cleanser?
Here's the thing. I don't know.
Oh, not again.
No, here. I'm doing a thing, and Rainiac, hang on.
Son of a bitch.
Am I being mirrored right now?
Let me just get everything ready. I'm just going to give myself a little time.
Don't put the burden on me again, please.
Okay. It's not on you. It's not on you.
Is it on me?
Okay. So everyone at home, look at your screen right now. Rainiac and Kat, you're gonna have to just go on this with faith because I'm doing a little recording as we speak, and I'll send it to Rainiac to edit in at the end of the episode, so everyone at home will see it. But right now, I am on a website called therandomizer.net.
Oh.
Which it basically just gives you a random Doctor Who story. So right now, we have Talons of Weng-Chiang up here. Show these settings here that I've got. So I've got it set to the 7 Doctors of the classic era. I've got 8 checked off because we've already done 8. I have it set to not skip long movies. because we might get one of those 7-parters of the Chown. Yeah, and we're going to skip stories with missing episodes for now. I mean, there's some good ones with missing episodes, but
is there an option to skip episodes that we've already seen?
Well, if I get an episode we've already seen,
you'll just roll again. Okay.
Yeah, and I reserve the right to re-roll any weird fringe case. Like if we get another piece of shit racist, I'm gonna re-roll and get something else. But otherwise, I'm gonna do my best to stick with that.
Okay, hit the button, Max.
Right, are we ready?
No, but hit the button anyway.
3, 2, 1.
2 minutes this time, man.
Okay, we got Dragonfire. We already.
No, reroll.
3, 2, 1. Okay. That's gonna give us a handful to talk about. But all right, kids. Next time on Doctor Who Reviews, as you can see, it's Tom Baker again.
Okay.
6-parter. It's the Armageddon Factor.
Okay.
And this website also has a rank, so it shows what it ranked on polls and stuff. So let's see. The Mighty 200th ranking gives it 100. Doctor Who Magazine First 50 Years poll, 204th out of 241. The Sandifer ranking, that's Elizabeth Sandifer at the top of the episode, 205th out of 241. Wife in Space ranking 4 out of 10. Flight Through Eternity. Okay, these are just they don't say the episode names, but it just links to the thing. So the Armageddon Factor is going to be interesting. It's actually the final story of season 16, which is the Key to Time season. So we're going to be coming into this a little blind, but that's random for you.
It's not problematic, is it? So that's all right.
I don't think so. So
honestly, when have we not entered into something blind by this point?
All right. So next time on Doctor Who Reviews, the Armageddon Factor. Brainiac. Yeah. So I'm just going to stop the recording. You're going to put a picture of Armageddon Factor. So
okay.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So do our sign off.
Yeah, let's take it home. So, if you want to talk to us about the episode that we have just reviewed, or indeed anything else regarding the world of Doctor Who and beyond, you can contact us on Twitter @ReviewsDoctor, or our dedicated email, which is goexterminateyourself @gmail.com. If you want to contact the co-hosts directly, I am @RainiacDamaniac, Cat's @Concave Usurper, and Jerry's @Freezing Inferno. Thank you to Freezing Inferno and to Cat for being my passengers for this one-way journey to hell. That was Talons of Weng-Chiang, but I'm glad it's out of the way now. We'd never have to speak of it again. Thank you to you, the audience, and I apologise if we've offended anyone. Even just directly quoted from the episode, I do apologise if that has offended anyone. And join us next time for hopefully a less offensive time altogether. Tom Baker stars in the Armageddon Factor. And now, I'm getting out of here. Until next time, bye for now.